Hello, gentle marketers. Welcome to the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm and changing it to a gentler approach, one that's based on empathy and kindness. I'm Sarah Zanacroce, I'm the host here, and if this is your first time here, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. You are listening to a raw episode, an extra episode specifically recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. I want you to know that this is not your regular episode. I continue to post those on Fridays where we do talk about gentle marketing. But right now I'm recording some special episodes just in order to help you with resources that help us all with the current situation. These episodes are also not posted on my website, so I recommend you subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app so you get notified about future extra episodes. For today's show, I invited Dr. Joy Lere, whom I met recently on LinkedIn, and I thought she'd be a great fit to come talk to us about money and mindset during the pandemic. Dr. Joy Lere is a psychologist, consultant, speaker, and writer. She practices at the intersection of behavior and business, specializing in the merger of money, mind, and meaning. A sought-after clinician, she has worked internationally with bright, driven, accomplished professionals, helping them discover how to lead richer, more resonant lives. Joy has previously served as an associate clinical professor at clinical psychology at George Washington University and has held clinical and research positions at Children's National Medical Center, Penn Medicine Princeton Health, and the Department of Defense. I wanted to bring Joy on to talk to us about money, as that's on all of our minds right now. Many people have lost their jobs, others have lost up to 6 months of their income, and I think we're just really all impacted, and it's important to have this money talk that sometimes is a bit of a taboo, right? So without further ado, here's my conversation with Joy Lere. Hi, Joy. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you, Sarah.
So good to have you with us. I'm so glad we connected on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, right? That's where we
As
met.
am I. As am I.
It's so wonderful. As you know, I one of my specialties is LinkedIn, and I always find it so yeah, it's great when I get to tell a story about a great connection like this one. So we met on LinkedIn and started chatting, and a few weeks later, well, here we are recording a podcast.
Yes, it's a wonderful space.
Yeah, as long as you use it in a kind of human way and not in a robot way, yet, right?
Exactly. I think real relationships are so powerful, and how we choose to engage in various platforms. Really, there's a lot of potential there, but you can stay back, you can stay safe, you can stay behind your profile, or you can start to really forge real personal connections with people, and that really requires thought and intention to really go out of your way to make a connection with someone.
Yeah, so true. And not doing it in a robotic way, but really in a I am, sincerely interested in you and not just like, oh, I'm sending this message to everybody and I really don't care whether you answer or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's also really important not to use social media platforms at, with a real self-serving agenda. Intelligent people can sniff that out. I
Yeah.
think it's really powerful going into being intentional about making a connection with someone without going in with a specific ask. There's a
Exactly.
lot of value for us building our relational network. The word networking just that makes some people's skin crawl. But really what that's about is it's about expanding the circle you have of people who know who you are as a person, as a professional, what you have potential to bring to the table, but someone you would like to have a conversation with, and someone you can then hold in mind and start to connect the dots with the other people you know in your life.
Exactly. And you did that so beautifully. So, yay. So, according to your LinkedIn profile, Joy, you are a psychologist who practices at the intersection of behavior and business, specializing in work with clients on the merger of money and mind. I love that
Yes.
sentence. It's so intriguing. So tell us more about how you are, because you also then told me that you're currently pivoting from a full-time clinical practice to into this more kind of behavioral finance. So tell us a bit about your journey.
Absolutely. So I am a psychologist by training. So I've had what has really been a really enjoyable clinical career over the course of the last decade. And over time, it became very clear to me people's relationship with money is complicated. So the conversations that would occur behind closed doors with my clients really brought into a clear focus that widespread paucity of financial literacy and really an intense discomfort in discussions about money create this perfect storm for relational discord, under earning, overspending, lost investment opportunity, and crippling financial stress. You know, money is this very interesting canvas on which we can learn and see a lot about a person's personality and functioning. So this I saw over and over there's really a need for people to really attend to this. And it's really exciting because within the finance industry itself right now, there's more and more attention being given to the importance of attending to the human factors that impact the calculus of someone's financial behavior and decision making.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I would just say that as entrepreneurs, right, we come into this oftentimes into this idea of running a business, and it's mainly just about doing what we love and what we're good at
Yeah.
without ever giving much thought to, oh, I have to actually, run a, like, have a budget and make sure that I make a profit and all of these money things that, let's be honest, most of my clients, and me included, it's not what we really came, or it's not why we started a business. We didn't want to go into finance or become accountants. So
Right.
oftentimes it's kind of this, stick your head in the sand kind of situations, like, oh no, it's the end of the month, I have to look at my finances again.
Right.
And
And
yeah.
I was very fortunate early on in my career to one of my first jobs was working as an associate at a group practice where the owner of the practice really became a model for me and taught me a lot about the fact that when you are working in the marketplace, it is not enough to be excellent at your craft. That needs to be paired with business acumen in order to really experience success. And I see this a lot with entrepreneurs and providing consulting, this discomfort with money and discomfort with the business side really creates a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and results in a lot of money being left on the table. You know, our mindset around money, our comfort with that, how we are talking about it with clients, those kinds of things really impact the outcome of your business and your service delivery.
Yeah, that is so true. And in the Gentle Marketing program, we also have a big focus. One of the chapters is about pricing, and who says pricing says money, and who says money blocks, and let's look at our money story and all of that. So yeah, such a emotionally heavy topic, right?
Yes.
And I guess that's really the reason why I brought you here today, because as you know, I'm recording these extra episodes in response to the pandemic that we're in right now. And, right now in a lot of countries, we're kind of either in the midst or almost towards the end of the health crisis. But this other
Hmm.
crisis that is now kind of um, like really that everybody's talking about is the economic crisis, right? Like
Yes.
we're talking about recession. And so right now that is really what's going on in a lot of people's heads, and everybody's at home, but that's what we're probably constantly thinking about. How am I going to make ends meet? What does it mean if I don't have any income in this next 6 months? And so what are you currently working on with your clients? Do you see an increase in anxiety due to this situation right now?
Absolutely. I think overall there has been a significant uptick in anxiety and panic in general. There are so many layers of such complex things happening in our world right now. But there is a lot of widespread now financial panic and anxiety. The markets have been very, very volatile. People are very worried about investments. They're very worried about what's happening with their financial situations in the short term. They're worried. It's really difficult, particularly in business, when the future is as uncertain as it is right now. And that's why I believe now more than ever, it is really important to be centered and grounded around your financial mindset as you are getting your own financial house in order and making plans for your business going forward.
Right.
Now, I'm doing a lot of talking with people about the importance, particularly related to business, the importance of not going into things with a scarcity mindset. There
Hmm.
is something that happens in our minds, even in our bodies, when we are operating from the place of there's not going to be enough, it's going to run out. What's going to happen if? Our creativity and our ability to see possibility and opportunity, which is what we need now more than ever, shuts down. And the truth is, those things exist. And that is what's going to help people really shift forward and prepare for the next season of business. This
Right.
pandemic has left its mark on the world in so many ways. And it's going to change the way a lot of people are doing business going forward. So we need to be able to think about how can we bring what we uniquely have, our skills, our experience, the tools and assets that we have to serve right now, because there's a tremendous opportunity to serve, and that's where real value is. So people can't lose sight of the tremendous value of what they have to bring to the world. It's just a matter of finding new buyers.
Yeah, it's so interesting how there's always both, right? Like your sentence on your LinkedIn profile says, it's the body and the mind. In a way, it's like, okay, it's the being and the doing. So
Yes.
what we need to focus on is our mindset, and like you said, not get into the scarcity thinking. And so that's obviously something that is really what we need to work on now and always, because right now is actually a good test, eh, to find out, well, have we worked on it in the past? Because I have worked on this for quite a while, and I do actually, I still find myself in situations or in moments where I go, oh, small little panic attacks, but they last like they're much shorter, and I catch myself and I go, okay, Sarah, you're in your scarcity mindset. Okay, come out of it. Things are gonna, turn around. And so having worked on that mindset already really helps me now thinking differently and finding back to the way of creativity. So I think, yeah, what kind of mindset work do you recommend to your clients? Is it meditation? Is it breath work? Any specifics?
Well, I think there are a lot of different things. I think people need to really carefully examine and understand their financial core beliefs. And what that often requires is going back and looking at what are the stories and experiences I have had up until this point that have really shaped the script and narrative in my mind about money, about work, about value, about pricing, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at, with the current scripts, with the current stories I tell myself that ultimately are driving my behavior and decision making, in what ways are those scripts sabotaging me right now? And what do I need to do to rewrite that?
Right. Yeah. So important. Yeah. It always goes back to, yeah, those money stories that probably we've had with us since our upbringing, right? Then, like, maybe they're even from our ancestors. Like, it's anchored into our way of thinking, and even though our situation may have changed, we're still stuck with these scripts.
Exactly.
Mm.
Our money stories and the fabric of that runs very, very deep in our lives. And I think it's really important to have self-awareness around what those stories are, and then take authorship about the story you want to write for yourself going forward.
Mm.
None of us are victims to our past.
Right. Yeah.
We get to decide what our future is ultimately going to be. And then we need to have the courage to go out and build that.
Mm.
And that's going to require maybe a willingness to show up and do things a little bit different than the people around us. It's going to require the courage to run some experiments. It's going to require the courage and willingness to turn into discomfort, because when we turn into our discomfort, that is the space in which potential for growth really exists. And right now, this pandemic has thrust everybody across the globe into the margins of human existence. So everyone in some way, shape, or form is being pushed outside of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really believe that in this space, there's tremendous opportunity that lives for unbelievable creativity and growth for everybody.
So, yeah, what I hear you saying is, again, first, look at these money scripts probably from the past. Make sure that you work on those, so that you can kind of let go of some of these old beliefs, and write down your future money story. And then your creativity will come back, and you can actually focus on the future. And that's where you're saying, well, this is not forever. So why not take the time right now to invest into the future, and start, yeah, coming up with new ideas, and new projects that you maybe have always wanted to work on, but never thought, never had the time. So now would be the time to do that, right?
Yes, you are your most valuable and secure asset right now.
Yeah.
So if people can really shift and focus on what can I be doing to invest in my skills, to invest in my relationships, my social connections, to invest in my health, so that when things start moving in the marketplace a little bit more, you are ready to step forward into potential opportunities that are waiting for you. And then I think people really need to be open to just walking forward, walking through one door of opportunity at a time.
Mm.
We really like to know exactly what's going to happen next. And right now it's a lot of people are learning the importance and necessity of tolerating the discomfort of uncertainty.
Mm. Yeah, it's never easy.
It's not easy, but
Mm.
the more that we can do that, if we can do that without shutting down, rather than waiting for something far in the future, we need to be living our lives in the present.
Mm.
And what we can be doing right now can really help to posture us and set us up for a stronger future.
If you say, there's opportunities and planning for those, I'm also thinking probably a good thing to plan right now is because we don't know exactly if this, if there's going to be a second wave or whatever is
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. So maybe also kind of adjusting priorities and readjusting, maybe also going over your expenses and looking, well, what does it mean if there is going to be a second wave? Do I have enough savings? Can I put some money on the side? Or how do I prepare myself better for something like this if it should happen again? What would you say about that?
Absolutely. If you are someone who has in the past, even looking at finances has been incredibly uncomfortable for you and you've just avoided that, now is the time to develop a new healthy financial habit. And what I really encourage people to do right now is be very honest, be very practical with yourself, sit down with your partner and look at what are the expenses I have and what is the guaranteed revenue I have. And right now, a lot of people need to really pare down to what the essentials are. Now, something I think that is really important is as you are looking at the expenses in your life, look at what are the needs that were underlying this expense in the past. What drove me to be making this financial decision or this behavior? Because I think if we can understand our needs, then when things get pared down, it feels less like we are on a financial diet if we can then look at how can I meet some of these needs possibly in different ways.
I love that explanation. I've never heard that before because I was just thinking about my gym membership that it's an investment that I usually like to make because I like to go to the gym, but I honestly have to say that I haven't missed it. I spend more time outside. I did some yoga online and I didn't actually miss the gym so much. So my need is for exercise, yes, but do I really need the fancy gym? Probably not, at least not in the summer months, probably maybe more in the winter. So yeah, I really like this question, what are the needs and do they still justify that expense or maybe not?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I guess the other thing, and you mentioned that earlier, is also not to get into the scarcity mindset again and trying to cut everything because there's no more money, so I can't even afford, I don't know, a $7 community membership or anything like that. So I guess also still planning on this turning around, and so being mindful of what you're actually cutting. Is this going to make a difference, or not so much?
There's tremendous power in our language and our perspective. And right now, I think we need to be really careful about how we are using each of those. So, even as you are looking at your budget, there's a different feeling to telling yourself, oh, I can't do, versus, you know what, for a period of time, I'm going to try to do something different.
Mm. Yeah.
There's almost something that happens in our brain when we tell ourselves, I can't. And depending upon your personality style, that a lot of people, some people can really bristle against that. So really I encourage people to really start to be more observant, even with the language you are using with yourself, particularly around more emotionally charged things, which money is. I often will tell people money is emotional currency.
Yeah.
And it even what scientific studies show in terms of what the topic activates in our physical brains is absolutely fascinating. So just start to be really thoughtful and cognizant of the language you are using with yourself, because the way we are speaking can really shape the intensity of the emotion we are feeling following what we are saying.
Yeah, you're so right. Like this expression, I can't, or I can't afford, to rephrase that and say, right now I don't value, or right now I'm, yeah, taking a break, or right now
I'm choosing
I'm
not to.
choosing
That's
not
a
to.
great
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
because really owning agency
Hmm.
is so, so important when so many things feel very out of control for people.
Yeah, it feels less like you're the victim of a situation. You're still in charge if you're choosing not to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now is not the time to sit back passively and say, well, I'm just letting my life and the world happen to me.
Hmm.
No, people need to continue to go out and happen to their lives.
Right. Yeah. So true. Let's talk about relationships and money, because that's another one of your expertise, is really because you said oftentimes, couples who came into your office, they came for one thing, but in the end, it's always somehow related back to money. And right now, let's face it, we are all stuck at home with our partners, families, and so these conversations around money obviously also come up. What kind of guidance can you offer to partnerships where money is a difficult topic, and I would assume it is for many people.
Yes, money is a fraught conversation for many couples, and some of that has to do with the complexity of you have two financial histories being merged, and two financial beings trying to come together and reconcile their own relationships and thoughts, feelings, attitudes, behaviors with money. And oftentimes, because and money is a very intimate financial conversations, the very nature of them is very intimate. So but even romantic partners oftentimes sidestep and avoid talking about it.
Mm.
But I think right now, one of the ways I'm reframing, it's interesting as I heard you. So a lot of people, even this idea of I'm stuck at home, if we can reframe as I have the opportunity to be safe at home. It is challenging, but now I have some time and space to have a conversation with my partner that maybe we've been avoiding or sidestepping, that has been costly to us. But
Hmm.
now we're being forced to do something different. Sometimes in our lives, we wouldn't electively choose to do the things that are best for us. And in some ways, I'm seeing a lot of that happen now, just with a lot of habit change. And I think people are being forced to have financial conversations that I think are actually really healthy and important. So, when something I'm really encouraging couples to do is really, you can get creative about this. Schedule a financial date. Everybody, I'm a firm believer in partners continuing to date even when they've been married or in a relationship for a very long time. So one way people can mix things up and start to develop a more regular practice of talking about their money in a way that's going to really promote the health of the relationship is scheduling financial dates. So even though it's maybe a topic that is uncomfortable or something that you would have avoided in the past, think of a way that you can kind of make it fun. So maybe you're going to plan to order takeout and set aside 30 minutes at the beginning of the evening where you're going to have a specific discussion about your money right now. So now is an important time to really look at, as a couple, what do we have? What do we need? How long people need to know, what is our runway right now? How much do we have? What do we know about what is coming in? And what changes, if anything, do we need to make about what is going out? Now, I think a lot of times what can happen with couples in relationships is they may find them, it is very rare that that within a relationship, two partners are financially identical. And you may find yourself having some strong thoughts, feelings, opinions about your partner's financial tendencies and behaviors. So, talking about those reactions and trying to understand, going back to the needs piece, what drives that for you? And
That can I
under
just jump in here? Because as
of
you were
course.
talking, I love this idea of still going on dates. And right now, let's face it, we can just go on a date, in another room maybe than you used
Yeah,
to do, or whatever it is. You can come up with, just lighting a candle sometimes makes
yeah.
a different ambience. And there's this great book, and I had to look it up while you were talking. It's called Eight Dates. It's by John Gottman and his wife, and
They have
they're a,
fabulous work.
yeah, they're a lovely couple who wrote a book on these different dates that you go on with your partner, and one of them is actually focused on money, and so it really helps you with questions. So basically, they structure the date for you, because the dates are essentially about maybe a difficult conversation, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
a conversation that you just never had about, what's your common outlook for the future? Where do you see yourself? What kind of
Yeah.
legacy do you want to leave behind, or anything like that? But there's one specific one about money, and they go, that there's this exercise about my family history with money, and it's exactly those questions. And in a way, I found that it helps to have some kind of support or guidance. And
Yes.
so I've actually done a few of these dates with my husband, and
That's
it
wonderful.
it becomes like this play, right? It's like, oh, we're doing this thing again. And so it becomes like a game. And having the questions from them helps you not getting too much into the emotional roller coasters.
Yeah.
And there's a certain structure to it. So yeah, I highly recommend that book, 8 Dates by John Gottman and his wife. And you're so right, it's so important to have these conversations, and especially that one about money right now, because it's like this opportunity that we have that's been given to us, and so why not use it for that right now?
Yes. And I think when I am working with couples around money, I think one of the things I really talk to them about is the importance of understanding your partner is not your financial enemy. And I think now more than ever, as people are panicked, they're frightened, they're fearful about the future, this is a time to come together. And I think one way that can be really powerful to do that within a relationship is to have two people really rally around a shared goal. So if you and your partner can really develop a shared vision for the future, and then look at and talk about what that will be for you moving forward. What steps can you take together? And then really owning what steps can you take as an individual to help you as a family achieve the financial freedom that you ultimately are seeking.
Yeah, I love that so much. Mm. Yeah, it's not the easy conversations, right? But
No.
it's so worth it. And probably also worth it, maybe writing a couple of things down just so you can remind yourselves of that common goal when, a fight comes up or a disagreement, and you're like, but wait a minute, we're in this together. We work towards the same goal, really.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us, Joy. This has been really great. What would you say to, as kind of a last bit of advice you would give someone who is really in this state of overwhelm right now and stressed about money? Where would you tell them to start?
So, when we are in a state of complete overwhelm, I think it is really important that I use the metaphor of kind of a microscope with people right now. And as people are dealing with stress, I think it's really important. There are times when we need to really zoom in and just focus on what do I need to do to get through the next hour of my life, through the next day. And then there are times where we really need to zoom out and remind ourselves not every day for the rest of my life and existence is going to feel like this moment right now.
Mm,
So then really looking at, okay, I'm in this season. This season may feel like a financial drought. And that is really hard. Validate the difficulty of that. But then ask yourself, okay, what can I be doing now to then prepare for the next season when the rain starts, when
mm.
it doesn't feel so dry, when it doesn't feel so oppressively hot? What can I do to get ready? What are the seeds I can be planting in myself, in my life, in my business?
Yeah, it's beautiful to remind ourselves that it's not forever, and
No.
there will be other times again. Hmm. Where can people find you, Joy? Please share your website.
Sure. So my website is my name, Joy Lere, JoyLere.com. I also do some blogging there. I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter at my name and my degree, so Joy Lere PsyD. And I also spin my creative wheels on Instagram from time to time, and my handle there is Joy Lere PsyD as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing this with my audience. I really appreciate it.
It was a privilege. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and really found value in it. Have these conversations with your partners, with your business partners, maybe also. And if you would like to talk to Dr. Joy Lere, please check out her website at joylere.com. That's joy, Lere.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back on Wednesday with another extra episode about bounce back ability, a conversation with Jules White about sales in a crisis. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Speak to you soon.